Let's get into it. Coach Colin here. What's going on, guys? It was a thunderclap. It was a thunderclap. You're welcome. You're welcome. Get your tinfoil speedos on, guys. This is a very interesting episode. Now, the episode with Sean Ryan and AJ from the Y-Files. Sean Ryan wants to talk about a very odd instance with the moon where there was a rocket shot at the moon by NASA. Okay, first off, NASA being declared a intelligence agency, I think it was long overdue. These guys were just sitting around shooting rockets at the moon. Trump was just like, you guys are just shooting rockets at the moon. How much did the rocket cost? You there, how much did it cost? $14 billion. What'd you find out? Oh, it rang. Oh, it rang. Did it ring? What are you guys doing? I don't understand. $14 billion and then you listen to the moon ring for over an hour. Okay, that's weird. It is weird. It is weird, okay? Very weird. But $14 billion. How many times have you done this? 52 times. Okay, guys. This is enough. You're going to be helping Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. You're going to figure out what these drones are in Denmark. I have no more time for this. NASA's just sitting around shooting rockets at the moon. Hey, man, who's giving you clearance to even do that? Did the American government say, yeah, shoot it, I guess? What? Guys are just wasting money, man. Elon Musk is making moves. He's like, we're going to make a reusable rocket. NASA's like, I don't really care what happens. We're going to shoot it at the moon and just see. I do like the attitude, I have to say. But I'm not joking around. That's what they did. They shot a rocket at the moon, and the moon went bing for like an hour, which is pretty weird. But I'll let Sean Ryan and AJ actually talk about that a little bit. And then we're going to move on because I wanted to look into something. I've brought it up before, but there are some tribes in the world that do talk about a time before the moon existed. Very odd stuff. Let's just jump right in. I told you to put your tinfoil Speedo on. Let's start the clip.
About the hollow moon.
Okay.
Is the moon hollow?
Man.
I've not dug into this. I had a side
weird.
conversation with Randall Carlson once, and he's the one that brought it up. I have not seen this episode of yours.
It's a fun one. That was Gino, my brother, said, you got to do this one. And it's like, hollow moon, that is nonsense. And then I'm researching the episode, and I just start to realize that there's a lot of weird stuff about the moon. And by the time I was done with the episode, I was convinced that it was hollow. But there's a lot of weird things that have happened with the moon. Like, first of all, the moon is too big to be here. It's just too big. We've never found another system in our solar system or any other that has this giant moon right next to us like this. This is totally unique. We haven't found a moon that has such a perfect orbit like this, that also the same side faces us all the way. We're a snowflake with this, totally unique. So that's strange.
No, I didn't realize that.
No, we haven't found
We have
it
the
anywhere.
only moon that we know of that doesn't rotate.
No, there are a few moons that are tidally locked like that.
Okay.
But it's rare. But when you stack up all these coincidences, it starts to paint a picture like the moon is weird. A lot of people will point to the fact that the moon during the eclipse is like the perfect size to block out the sun, because it's like a 400-to-1 ratio. That's fair, but the moon at one point was a lot closer to the Earth, and it's drifting away. So at some point, it's not going to be perfect anymore. But the moon, the far side the crust is different, older, and much thicker, and fewer impacts are on the far side that are on the near side. When you think it would be the opposite, because that's kind of like should be grabbing things as they come in, but instead there's not as many impacts on that side. When during one of the Apollo missions, as a test, a seismic test, they crashed one of the rockets into the moon just to take readings, seismograph readings, to see what was going on there. And the phrase is, the moon rang like a bell for over an hour. So if you set off like seismic charges here to measure sound waves that go through the Earth, as they go through the Earth, they slow down as they go through all this dense matter and then through the mantle and the core. Like it just slows down. The moon, they don't do that. The sound waves sped up and started to bounce all around in there and started to like reverberate for a long time. And no one could really explain that. Now, the prevailing theory, the mainstream theory, is that the moon is a lot less dense than the Earth because it was created from the Earth's crust and the upper mantle, which is less dense, which is why the moon is less dense. So the interior has maybe some hollow spaces, or it's just it's not quite as dense. That's why.
59% of you are not subscribed. Please, guys, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 500,000 subscribers. The road is long, but I know that we can do it. Please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the notifications. Please hit the like. If you want to keep seeing this content, if you want to help me move from being the Joe Rogan clip guy onto better, greener pastures, you got to hit the like. You got to hit the subscribe. It helps me tremendously. That is all I ask. Let's get back to the episode.
Okay, but the sound waves bounced around for a long time. There was a long time.
This is true.
This is true.
What hit it again?
They dropped one of the rocket boosters. They just crashed it in there. But they did seismograph readings in subsequent missions there, where they actually drop in like explosives, control explosives, and they just take the readings and see what happens to the sound waves. It's a normal scientific thing to do. I think they were just surprised. There's been a couple of NASA scientists who've even said it would make a lot more sense that the moon wasn't here than the fact that it is, because there's so many strange things about it. And we see light on the moon all the time. They're called transient lunar phenomena, where you just see these just light flashes on the moon all the time. And if you have binoculars, you can even see this. In one of the moon craters, I think it's the Aristarchus crater, there's this blue glowing light that just appears from time to time and then goes away, and then it appears again. They call it the blue gem.
What?
And you can see it. So what's causing the light up there? Well, mainstream scientists will say, well, you're seeing flashes because the moon it's a lot like glass. It's very glassy and reflective, so you're seeing that. But we'll see light just go across. You'll just see light zip across. And then what's the blue light in that same crater that we've been seeing since 17th century? It's Aristarchus or Aristarchus crater, I think is how you say it. Blue light. What is that? And now they're seeing, just very recently, like this year, these swirls of light and gases happening on the moon, different places. They don't understand it. There was one point where the moon doesn't really have an atmosphere. It has a tiny one, doesn't really have one. But for a little while it did. There was just all this water vapor in the air on the moon that came from somewhere and then just disappeared. So I don't know what that is.
Time is a funny thing. It's
Very odd stuff, guys. Very, very odd stuff. So, not sure. Not sure what all that is. I'm actually going to look up one of these things before I get into those tribes. I want to look up blue gem light on moon. I noticed that there is one of those, let me show you. Like one of those things on this video. I don't know what you call these things. When this comes up, that's nonsense. They're not saying anything bad. Okay? And just so I know that I'm in the good graces, I think the moon is a wonderful place that is real. It's solid. And it's done no wrong. It's perfect in every way. And we shouldn't be penalizing it for being perfect. It's given us many beautiful nights where we look up in the sky and see the moon. It's always there for us. Okay? I, for one, am a moon supporter. Just want to put that out there for anybody who might be watching or analyzing this video. I am a moon supporter. I always have been. Anyway. You actually have to do that. 2025. Oh my gosh. Let's see if there's any videos of this blue gem that they're talking about. Okay, so there's one video that's just him. Moon's hidden gem diving into blah, 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 crater, blue lake. First look, blue moon. There's nothing that actually shows this. Rare spectacle, set to light up skies, supermoon, blue supermoon. There's that. Not seeing anything that says that there's a gem of some kind. Let's click on this and just see where it goes. So we got that. This is absolutely nothing. Absolutely. Does this even change? What is the point of this video? This put up 11 months ago. Hey man, whoever did this, you need better video ideas, okay? This is coming from a guy that like talks about Joe Rogan all the time. You need better videos. I just gotta put it out there real quick. Yeah, so there's nothing I see. But let's go to the actual. Okay, so the phenomenon is called blue gem light. The moon is not scientifically recognized feature of the lunar surface. Claims about persistent blue glow, sometimes referred to as the blue gem, are not supported by mainstream science, while transient lunar phenomenon, brief localized changes in brightness. Huh. Okay. So this is science, this part, right? Okay, well, you know me on this channel, guys. I'm always about the clear science. You know me, right? So let's check out some science. Mysterious lunar phenomenon. Let's see this. What's this about?
18th, 1178, a group of a dozen monks were walking along a hillside near Canterbury, England. It was just after sunset and the moon overhead was in an early waxing crescent stage, something similar to this. As they walked along the hillside, one of the monks witnessed something strange occurring on the moon. All the monks looked up and saw the upper part of the horn, right around this area, split in two as a large bright burst of light expelled from the surface. The monks described it as looking like fiery hot coals bursting out of the side of the moon. They then described this eruption twisting at random, before eventually calming down to the point where the moon pretty much looked normal again. So what on earth, what on the moon, did these men just witness? Did something like that actually occur? Well, let me show you footage of a different lunar event. Check out this video. Look at this sector right here. Did you see that flash? That, my friends, was an asteroid impact on the moon. A rock hit the side of the moon and there was a bright flash. In fact, here is the moon's surface in that exact area before the flash, and here it is afterwards. Look at that, a brand new crater. But what does this have to do with the monks that we just discussed? Well, some researchers believe that these monks may have witnessed a lunar impact, but it wasn't something like this tiny little crater guy right here. No, it was this, the Giordano Bruno crater, a large 14-mile wide crater. Witnessing this form from Earth would probably look quite spectacular, similar to what the monks saw on that night in June. But there are still many skeptics to this claim. One, it's believed that the formation of this 14-mile wide crater on the moon would lead to massive meteor storms throughout Earth. You see all that ejecta would go up out of the moon and then slam into Earth. And, if an event like that happened around when these monks saw this event, obviously there'd be reports all over the world. And we have no reports of any meteor storms. Two, a lot of modern experts actually believe this crater to be a lot older than just 1,000 years. So what else could explain this strange event seen by the monks? What other strange lunar phenomena has been recorded throughout history? A lot of these strange lunar occurrences are known in the astronomy community as TLPs, or
Oh, this guy's real into it, huh? This guy's really into it. I like it. He's like really, really into it. What's this channel called? What's this channel called? Show me. Swaggy Studios, or Swaggle Studios. Good job, Swaggle.
transient lunar phenomenon. From red clouds to jets to weird colors to comet-like tails, today we will be discussing the many kinds of mysterious lunar phenomena. And we're starting with Chapter 1, Strange Colors. Now this section can be broken into two different categories: atmospheric tricks.
Now I just want to see, okay, atmosphere, strange colors. Wow, he does minutes on strange colors. Lunar weather. I want to hear about bright flashes. That's what I want to hear about. Let's go with bright flashes.
They can be verified because when an impact event happens, we have surveyed the moon. If we see a flash in a certain area, we can go to that exact spot and then we can check to see if there's a new crater. And oftentimes there are. In fact, it's pretty clear because you can see the fresh regolith that's caked up everywhere. There's also the automated Lunar and Meteor Observatory, aka Alamo, in Alabama, that films the moon and looks for flashes. And it has captured hundreds of flashes, some very brief and some a little more spectacular. So let's talk about that situation with the monks from the intro. One thing I didn't mention is that they claimed that this happened 12 times in a row. Now, what does that mean exactly? I don't know if that means it like took a break for a minute and then happened again, or if it was like doof, 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 like 12 back to back to back to back to back. I don't know exactly. But a meteor impact really wouldn't explain it happening 12 times in a row. The other thing is no one else saw it. Like, this was only seen by a couple monks in England.
You know what's weird? As he says, it was only seen by them, and it would have been seen by more people. Gary Nolan was talking to Tucker Carlson, and he was talking about how there are times where it seems like UFO or UAPs, what Gary says, Gary Nolan says this, and this is information from Jacques Vallée, that somehow they are able to project things into your mind, these UFO, UAPs. So the thing that you see is just for you to see. You know? Which doesn't explain it doesn't explain the Phoenix lights and things of that nature at all. But I just found it interesting that only they saw it. And I just finished listening to that interview, like literally minutes ago.
And no one throughout the world, no one in China, no one anywhere saw this. So people have their doubts, but there is one theory that could explain it. You know when you see a meteor and it streaks across the sky and it's like, whoa, if that meteor is actually heading directly towards you, it doesn't streak across the sky. It's like a little bright flash, right? Perhaps they just happened to be in the line of a meteor that was between them and the moon, and it was like or maybe it was a particularly bright meteor. Sometimes meteors come in like little pockets. Meteor bursts is what they're called. And maybe that's what they witnessed. I don't know. I still think that...
No, they witnessed aliens. They witnessed aliens landing on the moon. That kind of makes more sense than what he just said. I know it's more outlandish. We got our tinfoil Speedos on because the hat comes off when we dive deep and we get wet, right? I know. I understand that. But I feel like that makes more sense. That they saw something land rather than just maybe it was like, maybe the moon was like right here and it went, and you saw it. No, I don't think so. That's just me though. That's just me. Okay? You guys know me. I'm rooted in science. I'm rooted in science and facts. Everybody knows that, okay?
At sometime in the next not too long future, there's going to be a decent size meteor impact. I'm not talking like catastrophic. I'm just talking like something bigger than usual, maybe like a one out of every 100 years. And I think it's going to be pretty noticeable because we have a lot of people who are scoping out the moon these days, at least compared to the old days. It's also possible that some of these flashes aren't even caused by meteor impacts. Research has also indicated that solar activity like CMEs and flares could create a form of lunar lightning. According to an article from NASA,
they're an intelligence agency. Anyway, now you can just say that about them. Isn't that funny? Let's see what else he has to say. I'm just gonna pick a random part. Let's see if I just want to see another instance of it. That's what I'm really looking for. And this was like impromptu. Like I didn't plan on pulling this video up. That's why I'm going through it like this.
Pulled this down and he sent it and the sketch to the superintendent of the U.S. Naval Observatory, who asked them if there were any responsible Iowans who would vouch for him. So clearly he was a bit skeptical. But why would you go through all that work, all that trouble, just to make up a story about a stream of stuff coming out of the moon? I guess it was Iowa in the 1870s, so they're probably pretty bored. Okay, so that's actually probably more likely. Anyway, now obviously this wasn't magma coming out, as he had stated that it was the same color as the mountains on the moon themselves. So I'm guessing it was like an earthly atmospheric distortion trick. And by the way, that could explain a lot of TLPs. It's so hard to verify strange things happening on the moon because the atmosphere plays all these tricks. Look at this little video right here. This is all from the atmosphere, just distortion in the atmosphere. See how it's making things dance and making things kind of brighten up? It messes with our perception. So when it comes to these events, it's really important to have multiple spectators from different areas of the world. Like, we have lots of cases where there's like lots of people together and they see something, a bunch of monks or a bunch of astronomers who are looking at a crater and they all witness the same phenomenon. But there's no other events throughout the world. Very rarely do we get an event where multiple people saw it at the same time.
That's wild. That's such a wild, like that's the ruling. Like, oh, you saw something? Well, did anybody see something in China? How about Russia? No. Oh, you don't know? Okay. Well, then quiet down, buddy. What? No, that's crazy. What are you talking about? Did anybody else see the Phoenix Lights? No, it was just a bunch of Americans. It's okay. But even if one person just sees something, I mean, yeah, they could be making it up, but also they could have just saw something. I mean, there is that option. Okay. Now let's get into these tribes that I was talking about, because I started looking into, I forgot who it was that talked about the moon not existing during their time and then the moon kind of popping up. So I searched on ChatGPT. ChatGPT brought up some other stuff that I didn't even know about. In ancient Greek sources, there's a concept called proselinos, before the moon. It means before the moon, attributed to the Arcadians of Peloponnese. The idea that this people are older than the moon. Very interesting. Aristotle and other later writers refer to the Arcadians as aborigines who preceded the moon in a mystic sense. They always say that about those people of that time. It's like they don't take anything they say serious. Everything is just myth rather than straight up evidence. Like, how did the Bible break through? Right? How did the Bible break through? I guess because it's transcribed by God, but it's like you just look at everything they said in a mystical sense. I'll steel man myself because I know my position on this. So maybe in a mystical sense, maybe they're right. Maybe they meant that they've been there since the beginning of time, and in the beginning it was light, and then and then night came afterwards, which means that if you were there since the beginning of time, you were there before the moon, and then night came, and then the moon appeared. You know, like, I'm just trying in a mystic sense. Like, it's just, I don't know. Anytime they're trying to downplay any society and what they have to say, I always, especially like what, Aristotle? You're playing down Aristotle? Really? The notion largely symbolic and poetic, implying rather than literal history, memory of a moonless earth. Okay, that's what they say with the first one. Blah, blah, blah. Now we'll just call these people, what does this say? We'll just call them the Colombian indigenous. Some sources say tribes of the Colombian indigenous speak of a time when the moon was not yet in the heavens. They believe in the creation myth. Again, going back to myth, when these people are tribes and indigenous, everything that they have to say about history is myth. After the earth or light was created, there was no sun or moon, and later Lumerians came and were created to bring light. Okay. A more specific myth says that once Earth and the people existed in darkness, two, I don't even know what that word is, we'll just say people, were assigned roles, one to become the sun and one to become the moon to bring light at night. Very interesting. Okay, so those weren't what I was looking for. Then ChatGPT suggested the Zulus, and that's when I found exactly what I was looking for. Now, when it comes to the Zulus actually believe that there was a time before the moon, but not just that. Think about what AJ was talking about with Sean Ryan at the beginning of this whole video. Let's jump into this. Look, according to Zulu legend, the Earth existed in a vastly different state before the moon arrived. The planet was permanently enveloped by a thick canopy of water vapor, which softened the sun's glare, making it visible only through a misty veil. This world was described as lush, green, gentle, with a constant drizzle and no distinct seasons. You know, I know people are just gonna like Zulu legend. Like it just goes to legend. They're being pretty specific for a legend, you know? They're telling you what like they're telling you what it looked like. And you're just like, that's just a legend. How about that? The arrival of the moon brought by two brothers, one named Wowane and the other named Impanku, is said to have caused a catastrophic changes, including massive floods that ended a golden age and dramatically altered Earth's climate and rotation. It's very interesting because the way that they're describing the Earth, that would kind of eliminate time. They're saying that there was a time before the moon. There was this canopy. You couldn't really see the sun, and it didn't hit you like it does now. There was no Texas grilling eggs on the sidewalk or anything like that. So it seems like the temperature was great, and it seems like when the moon came about, then I could be wrong about this, but then the concept of time came about, right? Day and night. And then this day went by, and that day went by, and that day went by. But before that, it would just kind of be, and you would sleep and you'd wake up, but there wouldn't be a real concept of time at that point. There'd be no concept of night at that point. I don't know. Very interesting. Let's keep going here. Now, this is where it gets really wild. Ended a golden age, dramatically altered, blah, blah, blah. The moon itself is believed to be hollow. So this is where it gets interesting. They have that same belief. Isn't that weird? Having been stolen in the form of an egg from a great fire dragon. I would love to know what their fire dragon looked like. Like maybe they're claiming it was a great fire dragon. Yes, I do believe dragons existed at some point, but also they could be talking about some kind of craft. That is a possibility. So an egg was stolen. So basically they're saying an egg was stolen from a great fire dragon. Maybe it was a craft came by and dropped something, a satellite, a station where they, you know what I mean? Like something, right? Just think in the more technological sense. So a great fire dragon, and emptied of its yoke, being rolled into orbit. This event is also associated with the secession of in women and the introduction of the moon's stabilizing influence on the Earth's axis. Very weird stuff. These accounts are, let me make sure you guys can see it. So these accounts are part of a broader global pattern of myths, of course, from various cultures, including the Greeks, which was mentioned before, the Colombians, mentioned before. Also in Bolivia, they had this belief, all which describe a time before the moon existed. Very, very weird, you know? So the Zulus believe this. Many other tribes believe this. It's said to be myth. But then, years later, NASA's just sitting around bored, and they're like, can we just throw something at the moon? Like, I guess we could. We could, right? Let's just try it. You know, they're just doing stuff. And then they figure out something that other people who are not as civilized, not as advanced, knew for a very long time. That is not the first time something like that has happened, right? I mean, I think it's the Dogon tribe where they actually knew about a planet called Sirius before modern science had known about it at all, like decades before, maybe even a couple hundred years before. They knew about this. Not only did they know about the planet, they had it mapped. They had a map of the stars, and they were like, well, that planet's here. And then literally modern science found like, oh, there is a planet over there. And those Dogon people, I hope it's the Dogon, I think, they claim that they're from that planet, that their ancestors are actually from that planet, came to Earth, and that's why they're there in that part of the world. Weird stuff, I know. Then when you hear about the massive canopy, it also sent me down this train of thought. Now, this is one of my favorites. I don't talk about this one much because it's out there, but it's one of my favorites. Now, we're talking about a massive water canopy, right? It's just there is foliage so much and so big that it's causing a water canopy to exist that is kind of making the sun, not as bright, kind of putting a veil over the sun. Well, what kind of vegetation could help cause that? You go into the rainforest, it's wet. It's wet. It's not a dry heat. You're not in Arizona in a suburb. You're in the rainforest. It's hot, but you don't feel it as much. And also, when you're in that forest, you're not seeing the sun as much. The sun doesn't beat down on you as much. Now, if the whole world was like that at one point, then this might be what was going on. Again, one of my favorites. Mountains are actually massive tree stumps. Oh, I love it. Had myself muted, and now everybody's going to be like, you had yourself muted. I'm not even going to do that. So if you look here, let's go back. Let's go back right here. Okay. Let me mark this down because I messed up in the video. Okay. Check this out. I slowed it down. No music. He's looking at a tree stump. A tree stump, right? A tree stump. Tree stump. Then he goes mountain table. Oh, and that's when it starts to come together. It looks like those type of tree stumps. It's even growing stuff around it the same way a tree stump would. There's this big theory. I don't know if you guys know. I'll let this keep running. There's a big theory that there were gigantic ancient trees. I mean, absolutely colossal in size. I mean, this is a mountain that you're seeing. I mean, the tree was that thick. You see what I mean? Like the people talk about this one. It's one of my favorites because it paints such a wild, mystical world that we couldn't even fathom. But they're saying if a tree was that thick, imagine how tall it was, right? And they think these trees were everywhere. People just keep showing it. And it's very true. It is very similar. There's even videos of people going to certain places and finding mountains and actually like chipping off some of the mountain and then comparing it to petrified wood. See, now he's comparing it to petrified wood. That's what petrified wood looks like. It looks a lot like that. Like that's wood. That's not wood, right? Looks very similar. Oh man, it's one of my favorites. Because if there were giant trees, then what were we? What were we as people? Were we even around? Were we just small things? Because I wonder what happens to us if there was this massive infusion of oxygen in our atmosphere. And that's what we were just born into. Would we just have like massive lung capacity, or would we all just be like kind of like airy because there's just so much oxygen? Or would we be bigger? Would we be bigger? And this kind of touches on, I don't know if you caught it, but the legend, when it comes to the legend, the biblical story of Noah and the ark. Well, there was a flood, but why was there a flood? Apparently there was a flood because there were so many giants that needed to be done away with that God needed the trees cut down, that the angels cut down the trees. Okay? Stay with me here. Okay? Don't let your Speedo fall off. That the angels cut down the trees because if the trees still existed, because they were so massive, the giants would be able to escape the flood. So they cut them all down so the giants couldn't escape. And then you start seeing people years later making these comparisons. It's so fun to me. I know some people don't like to think and they'll get mad about this, but it's just, oh, he even did that. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love just thinking about that. Because I don't know about you. I love huge trees. When I see huge trees, I'm like, it's like a wonder to me. I'm like, wow, you know? I don't climb trees or anything, but I'm just like enamored when I see them. So to imagine one that big is just so overwhelming. Could you imagine? Anyway, keep going with the video. Keep going. Look, now this guy's cooking. This guy's cooking with grease now. Keep going. Keep going. Cooking with grease. What else he got? Oh. You can't even tell what's a tree and what's a mountain anymore. Oh, he's sliding it again. He's sliding it again. That's a tree trunk. Those are tree trunks, okay? I know you're confused. They look like mountains to you now. So now imagine that little blip that he just showed. Like, I don't know if this is the Grand Canyon, but it looks like something like the Grand Canyon. Imagine all those were actually giant trees. Huge, huge, huge trees. Bigger than anything you've ever seen in your life. Oh, man. I love it. Sliding it again. I know. Avatar. See, he's making that connection. Yes. Ancient, huge trees. There you go. There you go. Look at that. So he's making the comparison. He's like, this is what would have happened. Ancient times. Mining equipment. And now, why is that? See, you see what he's saying? I love these guys that do these videos that don't say a word. They're literally the opposite of me. I say so many words, right? But these guys say no words, and he's right. Why is that so big? Why is it so gigantic? What are they cutting down? Obviously, they're cutting into the ground. Obviously, they have to be. I love it. He's just cooking. He's cooking. He's like, I get it. I get it now. I get it. I mean, I'm just saying. If there was some kind of canopy, this massive water canopy that's blocking out the sun pretty much, you would think there would have to be some pretty massive trees.
Why so few, you say? There are not a few of these giant trees. The remnants are everywhere. Our eyes only allow us to see small glimpses of what was. But the more your eyes open, the more you realize that these ancient trees were everywhere. You see, we have been told to dismiss what our eyes have told us.
Wow. Wow. He's just so serious. So serious with the speech, you know? Just so serious. I get it. But it's just a fun thought process. What is that? You know, that does look like wood. But again, guys, it's not just wood, it's petrified wood. Oh, they're even getting down to the shapes. Oh man, don't disrespect this guy.
True beauty of this world, to what's worth uncovering, and how much of it is hidden in plain sight for us to find.
See, that just looks like stone. But again, people are doing this comparison where they're grabbing pieces of mountain that are stone, and they're bringing it to petrified wood, and they're showing the comparison, how it crumbles and everything like that. And apparently, wood is able to mineralize. As it becomes petrified, it is able to mineralize, which means that it would get very hard, and it would be comparable to rock because it would be consisting of all the same type of minerals after. No more water inside of it, just like minerals. So I don't know. It's just a fun one. I've gone way over my time. I'm trying to make my videos like 28, 29 minutes now. I've gone way over the time, guys. I just wanted to bring you that. Let me know what you think about this whole thing. I know it was a wild one, but that is why we wear the Speedos. I'm out of here.